I remember my therapist once told me, Terrence, you can't squeeze water out of a rock. But for 3 years straight, I tried everything to prove her wrong. This video was inspired by a conversation I was having with a friend of mine. He just recently moved to Tokyo and we talked about finding love here. And he told me about his struggles of searching for a relationship. Now, on one hand, I think it's a little bit too soon, especially when you first move to Japan to get into a relationship. On the other hand, when I look back at my life, I get that need that he's searching for. But I think deep down inside, what he doesn't know is that he's searching for something entirely different. You see, when you first move to Tokyo, you feel every emotion, the highs, the lows, the excitement, the fear, the cultural shock. This is the world's largest city, yet nobody knows you. You go to work on these packed trains surrounded by strangers. You start work where your coworkers have known each other for years. You walk past thousands of people on the street, yet not a single one of them see you. So naturally, almost instinctively, you start looking for somebody who does. For me, it started almost a decade ago. Before I met my current partner, I first fell in love with a woman here. I was dating this Japanese girl. By our third date, she told me that she loved me more than anything else. And that even though I'm 1,000 miles away from home and she cannot replace my family and friends, she wanted me to feel at home whenever I'm with her. Now, it was one of the most beautiful things I ever heard. But looking back at it, maybe that was a bit too fast. Maybe it's too high of an expectation to place on two people in their early 20s. But when you're young and you're new to the city and someone offers you that kind of certainty, you don't question the timing. But what surprised me is that I never really shared with her that I felt lonely here. To be honest, especially me in my early 20s, that version of me, I don't think I was that introspective to truly know. But I guess intuitively, she must have knew what it felt like because she was Japanese in America and she wasn't able to speak the language. You see, Japan can be a very difficult place to navigate, even if you do speak the language. There's so many cultural rules, things that you simply don't know that you don't know. She was kind of like this window to this new world I was in, this cultural AI before AI existed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt secure being with her. Because whenever I had an issue, whether it was setting up a bank account, navigating bureaucracies, or even planning dates, she was there. She was. And I did the same for her. She was a university student who was preparing for her career as a tech consultant. I helped her navigate her career. She helped me navigate life. We were kind of like a team. But then COVID happened. For the first half of our relationship, I was living in a share house, but I wanted to move out because look, 16 people all in the apartment during a nationwide lockdown, the unknown virus is like killing tens of thousands of people. I had to get out of there. And at the time, I was starting my second job as a software engineer and I got this nice pay bump. So I was looking for a nice place because I felt like I made it. But housing discrimination is a real thing here, and it's a massive problem. So every apartment that I wanted, they refused to rent to me. And when I was expressing her the feelings and the challenges that I was facing, we came up with this idea of like, hey, why don't we live together? We're both starting a new stage of our career and we'll be a power couple. And I'm not sure if we were a power couple looking back at it, but there was a power dynamic for me. Moving in together did give me that security that I was looking for. But the thing about security, it has a way of making you feel comfortable with things that you probably should be questioning. When you're in your early 20s and everything is new and exciting, compatibility isn't something that you think about. You're in that honeymoon stage, you're having fun, you're exploring. The harder questions don't come up because you don't have to live with the answers yet. But moving in together ended that. Almost immediately, I was living with a version of her that I've never seen before. Every night, she'll work into midnight, not making time for us. Petty differences turned into these huge fights. I remember we got into this argument at a restaurant in Ikebukuro. Right afterwards, we were going bowling and we are going to see some mutual friends. Now I walk in, I'm distraught. I'm uncomfortable. I'm anxious. And she was able to flip switch and become the most peaceful and charming and loving person in the room. There's this concept in Japanese culture called hone to tatemae, your true self versus the version of you that you show the world. Now, look, I'm not saying that Japanese culture teaches you to be fake, but when I saw her in that bowling alley and I was watching her laugh with our friends, I wish I would have paid attention to who she truly was because there was always two versions of her. But I kept choosing to believe the one that she showed me that day that she told me she wanted me to feel at home when I'm with her. And that's why I ignored my therapist's advice and I kept trying to squeeze water out of a rock for as long as I did because I actually thought there was water in there. You see, a month before we broke up, we were already in a rocky place. We tried couples counseling, individual therapy, and eventually living separately towards the end of our relationship. And I remember she told me about this guy that she met at a party. He slid into her DMs. I knew something was wrong immediately. So I told her, look, I don't think that guy's looking to be your friends. But then she told me that I'm overreacting. We had this long back and forth, but I held firm in my boundaries and I told her that, look, if you're going to keep entertaining this guy, please, please leave me alone because that guy clearly likes you and this is a major boundary violation. So we stopped talking for I think about a week. She called me like I think a week later with the hopes of winning back my trust. And then she told me I'm gonna tell him that you're the most important person in the world to me and that she would do anything to keep our relationship together. And of course, I believed her. We started planning our Christmas vacations. We started talking about moving in together again. I chose to believe that version of her that said those things to me. But that was a mistake because a couple of weeks later, she broke up with me. And at the time, I didn't know why. She just told me that, look, I want to be friends. I need time to focus on myself. But I didn't get it. I'm like, how could you tell me that you love me just a couple of weeks ago more than anything else. And then like a few weeks later, you telling me that you want to break up with me. I was confused the entire time, to be honest. And still, I tried to move on. But I think what happened was she got into an argument with her friend, her best friend actually. And I guess her best friend was like, F it, I'm gonna tell Terrence the truth. It turns out that she brought a guy to her best friend party and she said that, hey, like, this is my new boyfriend. I've been dating him for a few weeks now. And I guess her best friend didn't like that. So she told me. And of course, of course, it was a guy in her DMs. When I found the truth, it felt like everything changed so fast back then. I remember she called me during that time period and she was angry. She I remember she called me and she was like, yo, you're no longer allowed to stay in the apartment. I'm like, yo, where is this coming from? And first off, how are you gonna tell me that I can't stay in the apartment? This is the apartment that we used to share together, but she moved out, so only I stayed in it. But it turns out when we originally moved in together, she only put her name down on the lease. So she had this legal way of kicking me out. And so not only am I dealing with a breakup, her cheating on me, I'm getting kicked out of my apartment all out of what? Spite? Spite for what? That I knew the truth of what was going on. It was so strange to see a woman who promised me a home at the start of our relationship and then took one away at the end, and she had every legal right to do so. When she forced me out, I didn't want to just leave the apartment. I was on the verge of buying a plane ticket actually, and I was going to leave Japan for good. But I'm so glad I didn't do it. Back then, I decided to pack my bags and just take my loss. I wanted a complete fresh start. But I did see her one last time around that time that she kicked me out because I had to go back to the apartment to give her the old key. And when I saw her, I could tell she felt a bit guilty about what happened. She always had like this anger issue and she used to do things just so reactively. And I think maybe, at least I want to believe that a part of her said that and realized that she couldn't take it back, but she wanted to, like, show her remorse, so she came in and tried to hug me when I saw her that last time at the apartment, and of course, I was like, "Whoa, whoa, we're not gonna do that." I pushed her away from me because I didn't want the hug. I mean, why would I? But I did ask her one question because I wanted to know that did she ever tell that guy that I was the most important person in the world to her? Because it seems so confusing. If you told that guy, how are you dating him just a few weeks later? And surprisingly, for the one of the first times in a long time during that time period, she told me the truth. She said no. So I remember I left the apartment, and that was the last time that I ever saw or spoke to her. You see, as a foreigner dating somebody here in Japan, there's an unspoken power dynamic. Even in the healthiest of relationships, breakups can be asymmetrical because when it ends, they're still in their own home country, surrounded by their friends, their culture, and everything that's familiar to them. You, on the other hand, you're like this fish out of water. Your closest friends are back home. And for me, and there was a 14-hour time difference. If I wanted to talk to somebody and I had to either call them late at night or early in the morning my time or vice versa. And in between that gap, I just had to deal with those emotions. I had to deal with that breakup in that apartment by myself alone again. That was one of the darkest time periods of my life. I always tell people when you leave your home country to come to Japan, you're either running away or you're searching for something. And a lot of us don't realize it at the time until we look back at our lives. Now, trust me, I have 10 years to look back at, and that's why I'm giving you guys this perspective in this video. For me, I left home and searched for one. For my friend, look, dude, whenever I hear you say, I don't think I can ever find love here, a part of me do see myself in you. I wish I could tell you after 10 years, I have it all figured out. but honestly, I don't. What no one tells you about living abroad, or even living in Japan for so long is that you're never going to fully integrate in society here. When you live in between two cultures for so long, you outgrow your old identity, but you don't quite fit into the new one either. It's like I feel connected, but also trapped in between two worlds with no place to call home. And although that uncertainty never truly goes away, I don't feel that same insecurity that I once did. So that is something to look forward to. You see, in my early 20s, I tried to build a home with somebody who couldn't give me one. And although I do still yearn for a place that I can call fully home, a place that is filled with that love that I used to experience back home. I know that I'm never gonna get it trying to squeeze water out of a rock again. So my advice to you, from my own experience, take your time when you're looking for a relationship here, because you never know what type of home that you're building with somebody. With that being said, this is my little life advice and short breakup story. I hope you guys like the video. Please, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I tend not to get that vulnerable in the video, but I wanted to share this rough experience because I thought that it can be a valuable lesson for any man or any woman out there for real who want to live abroad. Because this is a side of it all that people don't really tell you. It's not something that's algorithm friendly. I mean, you know. Anyways, I hope you guys like this video. My name is Terrence Reynolds, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.